Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today we're going to talk about how Kill Team has launched out of the gate and in its very first month is broken. Or more specifically, one faction is broken. There might be some other balance patches, but there's one issue, right? And you obviously know it. Even if you haven't paid any attention to Kill Team, you know it because I've put it in the title and probably the thumbnail of this video. Talons of the Emperor are broken. More specifically, the Custodes themselves are broken. In this video, I want to talk about in what way the Custodes are broken, how that is affecting the game as we currently see it, and perhaps talk about any changes that could be made to fix the Custodes. I also believe, just to get it out there nice and early, GW are going to do this themselves. They've been very forthright in the way they've said they're going to, like really have hands into this game, and they're not going to sit back and just wait for things to develop and ruin everything and be broken. So they've said that. Now, when are they going to fix it? I don't know. I mean, we still haven't had our month 1 FAQ yet, which is very standard GW policy. But let's not get too much into that because that's pure speculation. I'd also like to hear any experiences that you have. As someone that's a big member of the community, I keep my eyes out. I've seen the tournament results, but maybe outside of a tournament, Custodes are totally fine. I'd love to hear any experiences you guys have. But before we get into that, if you are a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big circle hello. Wow, wasn't that a wholesome noise? Yes, it was. If you want yourself a nice double geometrical pleasantry in the next video, like, subscribe, leave a comment right now. And hey, did you know I also have a Discord, a Facebook, and a Patreon? If you're on the Patreon, you get access to a Kill Team podcast called Vantage Point, where I just randomly talk to members of the community, other content creators, good players, etc. You also, if you're a top tier member, get access to the Glass Half Dead data card template, which you can play around with if you want. There's also more things coming. Let's get into the video. Talons of the Emperor are broken. Let's just throw the word broken out there and we'll define it in a moment. But how do we know that they are broken? This is still the first month of Kill Team. How can we really say anything is broken, right? Well, let me just throw it out there for you. So far, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we've had 5 tournaments. At Bad Moon Cafe, they came first. At Warhammer World, they came first and second. The Spanish guys did a tournament where they came first and third. There have also been numerous TTS tournaments where they've probably come quite highly ranked, I would assume, but I don't pay a huge amount of attention to those. You have to watch other creators to hear about the TTS stuff. Now that's indicative of something, but what else could we glean from this? The other thing we can see is that when they are winning, they're max scoring. Okay, there are no, oh, I'm Custodes and I just managed to get a win each game. No, you're Custodes and you max score. You're 17 or 18. I think the lowest score I've seen a Custodes win by is 15 points. Okay, they are getting landslide victories. The reason for this, as far as I can tell, and bear in mind we're going into kind of speculation mode because what are the actual problems? Well, there could be many, but let's focus on the team itself. It's 4 APL. 4 APL is a big issue because of the way that Kill Team plays. In most missions, you have to perform actions. Their APL allows them to essentially perform actions for free because you're moving, you're performing an action, and then you still have 2 APL left to fight with. So they're being able to do everything. The other way of scoring points in Kill Team is by standing on objectives. How do you do that? You have a 2-up save and you have 18 wounds. So we need to think about their APL and we need to think about their raw stat block, okay? The APL and the hit points. In addition to this, they have 3 ploys that are really good. We have Peerless Warrior. That allows them to shoot twice and fight twice. With their 4 APL, that means if they are in a good position, they could kill relatively easily 4 enemies an activation. That's mad. We also have another ploy that allows them to ignore 1 critical damage. Now yes, this is a bit of a trade-off for a CP, but it makes them so durable, right? If you go into a Custode, you hit it with a big 7 damage from a Power Fist, you just, nah, I'm done, nah. It's like, okay, Alright, well, fair enough, I suppose. I've done 0 damage. Then we have Brotherhood of Demigods. Now, I don't want to go into this too much, but I'm going to because I have to, because maybe you're new, maybe you don't see the issues. So, the way Brotherhood of Demigods works is pretty simple. It allows you to do 1 extra action for a CP. And the way that works is that if you use it any time to do anything. So in Kill Team, generally, you have a limit of doing each action once per activation. So, for example, most teams can only shoot once, fight once, move once, charge once, mission action once, pick up once, etc. You probably know that Space Marines have access to Bolter Discipline. Bolter Discipline is the classic one CP, your entire team can shoot twice. Specifically, they can perform a shoot action twice. Brotherhood of Demigods allows you to take an action outside of your activation. Now, yes, this means that you could use it in conjunction with Peerless Warrior to shoot 3 times. And I say, if your enemy is going to allow you to do that, you should probably do that. But in general, that's not how it's used. So let's take an example of Peerless Warrior. You've played it. What can you now do with that Custode, assuming that you are also going to use Brotherhood of Demigods? So, you can charge, fight. Nice, that's 2 actions. You can then shoot something. Perfect. Okay, you're kind of done now. You've only got 1 action left. What do? Well, you now Brotherhood of Demigods. You charge again. You fight again. You've essentially just taken 5 actions for an extra CP there. Now, the reason this is so strong, as you could just probably tell, is you've managed to charge twice. How far do you charge? That's 8 inches. You've just charged 16 inches and killed 3 things. This isn't the end of the world if you're a horde team, if you're 14 models, but if you're an elite team, you could legitimately have just lost 70% of your team from a single activation, and you didn't do anything wrong, right? Because they managed to use their extra movement to play within the rules of the game whilst breaking them. You played correctly, they just have access to a game-breaking ploy. This is the problem with Custodes, because I want to just quickly highlight this bit right here. You didn't do anything wrong, and they destroyed you. That's the issue. Kill Team is supposed to be a, what's the word? What's the word they used? Painstakingly balanced. I think they use that for Pariah Nexus, not the new Kill Team, but I'm bringing it back. Kill Team is supposed to be a painstakingly balanced game. And the best way to play it, at the moment, for every other faction, is to play a really tight, cagey game, make the occasional push to test if your opponent can respond correctly, and capitalize on the enemy messing up. Custodes do not have to do that. Custodes fundamentally break that rule, that painstaking balance, thanks to Brotherhood of Demigods. Okay, that is the actual problem. I want to quickly point out that there's no problems with the Sisters of Silence. They seem fine, and that's kind of the issue. All the top teams seem to be just running for Custodes. They don't need anything else. That seems like a problem. I want to do a quick aside to talk about skill level and terrain. Now, skill level is obviously a big thing. We're in the first month of Kill Team. Custodes are built to be a very durable team. Okay? Cool. That makes sense. Durability means they're easy to play. They're easy to collect. You only need 4 models. They're cool models. They're cheap. They're easy to play. Like, it's all right there that they are the best beginner faction. Unfortunately, they're also the best expert faction. How do we know this? Originally, I wanted to say that it is just the fact that players are new. Custodes are durable. It means you can mess up and their natural stat block allows you to be forgiven by the mechanics of the game. And that is true. That does happen. They still work that way. And I had expected that they would start off really strong. Okay, they'd be really strong. And then as people kind of started to learn the game, they'd settle down a little bit and people would figure out, the people that had to go away from Custodes into other factions because that's their main or whatever, people would learn, okay, this is how you play around Custodes, and the Custodes players would have to stop relying on their natural tough stat block. And then you'd kind of, after that, they'd start getting stomped, but then they'd have to learn to play the game, and you end up on the other side, but everything's kind of painstakingly balanced. And that's where you want things to be, and okay, maybe the Custodes will be a little bit stronger than other factions, just naturally, because, when you're in a tournament, even when you're a top player, having a faction that allows you to make mistakes is still really useful from a cognitive load perspective. Not having to play every single activation spot on or risk losing the entire game, really helpful, so still strong as a faction. And when we first started to see the Custodes coming out on top on the tournaments, I was like, okay, so obviously, accidentally, you know, some of the best players have moved to Custodes and things are still going to level themselves out, right? No, they're not, unfortunately, because we have also seen all the way at the other end of the spectrum, because we've had the best players, not only, you know, those that have, since the release of the game, grinded out a whole load of games on TTS, but we've also seen the players that have been playing this game for a long time, the play testers, the people that, as far as we could say right now, because they have the most experience, are probably the best at the game, and we've seen them win. So we've seen playtesters fighting playtesters and agreeing, yeah, these Custodes are the best. And that means we now have every skill level accounted for. But the tournament results, in combination with the playtester results, seems that Custodes need to be fixed. So we can kind of discount the skill level argument. We also need to contemplate terrain a little bit. Terrain is such a huge factor in Kill Team. For every faction, if your board is laid out incorrectly, you are giving a huge positive or negative depending on how that faction plays, whether it's elite, melee, elite shooting, horde, melee, horde shooting, a mix. Terrain is super important, is all I'm saying with that. It's great that we've now had Warhammer World, where they've had access to the Octaris terrain and the Vertigus terrain, and they've set it out and they've said this is the layout. This is what we think is balanced, and I do think they did a really good job there. So I'm kind of taking those boards as how things should be played. Personally, for me, they were maybe, you know, they did favour one type of play over another. Let's just say Harlequins are doing well in that level of terrain. And no doubt there's another video coming talking about Harlequins, but this is the Talons video. Let's focus on them. So all I'm saying is terrain is an issue, but I think because of Warhammer World, we can kind of say, yes, terrain's an issue, but we've seen how it should be played. And Talons took first and second place. Okay, terrain's not an issue. The terrain, as it should be played, Talons win. The skill level, whether it's beginner, intermediate, experienced, Talons win. Okay, let's get to the meat of this. Let's get to the wild speculation. How do we, and by we I mean GW, fix Talons? The main ideas that I've seen thrown around are change the stat block, change the fire team consistency, and change the ploy cost. Okay, where to begin? Let's start with the ploy cost, because that's one thing. So I was speaking to Micromancer, someone that's generally considered a very experienced player on my podcast, Vantage Point, patrons only, or if you watch it live at Twitch, you can see it, but patron only now. He said that he doesn't really mind how killy the Custodes are. What he cares about is Brotherhood of Demigods. To him, that's the only issue. You know, so let's say we've got one of the best players saying Brotherhood of Demigods. How do we fix Brotherhood? So in my mind, I pitched to him there's two ways. Either we just straight up make that 2CP, or we just add in a little addendum. We say this is now once a game. Still costs you 1 CP, but you can only ever use it once per game. These are two nice fixes. Either make it 2 CP or make it once per game. There is the alternative. Now, here's something, this requires a little bit more wording, but the way Brotherhood of Demigods works, as I explained, is it allows you to make an action outside of your activation. This means you could do anything. So the other fix would simply to be, you do a free action inside your activation. I don't like that one as much, but I think it definitely has legs, and of course we're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. This is a discussion. I'm not telling you, oh, if you hadn't figured this out, I'm not going to tell you this is how you fix Talons. I don't know. I have a preference. GW could do anything. If GW doesn't step in, the community could do anything, and these are the things to explore. We could also look at Peerless Warrior. Now, Peerless Warrior is 1 CP and you can shoot and fight twice. I would argue you can do a similar thing to this. Either increase it to 2 CP because, you know, you're getting to do 2 things for the price of 1, or you can make it this model can shoot twice or fight twice instead of and, but keep it at 1 CP. I think if you're looking at the ploys, Those are the two things. They do have the other ploy that I mentioned that I don't know the name of, where they get to ignore a crit, which is really good, but I don't really know how you change that. I don't think that should be 2 CP, that's too much. I don't think it should be... I mean, I guess if you really wanted to change that, you would change it to this model can ignore 1 normal hit. From a gameplay mechanics perspective, maybe that's enough to just tone their durability down a little bit. Let's look at the team makeup. You could just say you can't take more than 2 Custodes. You have to take 2 Custodes, 5 Sisters. That's it. Or, if you want, you know, you do the thing where you word it like they've done for Death Guard and Thousand Suns. So the fire team is 1, and then if you don't have another leader, you get an additional 1. So you could potentially run 3 Custodes as 2 fire teams, or 1 Custode plus your leader for a second, and then 5 Sisters. However you want to do that. I actually don't mind this one. I think that's a pretty nice fix. There you go. However, I don't think it's enough. I think that would need to be done in conjunction with a nerf to Brotherhood of Demigods, because it still gives you a game-breaking unit. It doesn't give you as many, but considering you can only use Brotherhood of Demigods once per turn anyway, it kind of seems like the issue's still there, right? So, nice fix, but I think it probably needs to go with still having a nerf to Brotherhood of Demigods. And then we come to the nerf of the raw stat block itself. Obviously, we have to look at 4 APL. And I suppose, because it's the other thing of note, 2-up save. I think that the 2-up save needs to stay, right? Because that's consistent across every other faction with their save value in Kill Team and in 40k. So I think that's out of the picture. I don't think we can change their 2-up armor save. So we have to look at APL. They're the only faction with 4 APL, and honestly, I like them having 4 APL. I think it's really cool. It's their standout thing. How do you know it's a Custode? They've got 4 APL. Some people are saying it could be nerfed to 3 APL. Honestly, so thematically, I don't like that. I feel that's Custode's thing. However, mechanically, I've thought about this a lot. Mechanically, I guess it could work. It makes sense mechanically because it means that when it comes to objective-based play, you don't need... Like, it's a huge nerf. It means that they cannot move, action, and continue to just be a marine level model. They need to really focus up, and they don't have enough models to possibly dominate quite as much. And if you're looking at just contesting objectives, 3 APL means that now you would only need 2 APL models, guardsman level models, instead of 3, because 3 is a really big ask, let's be honest. I don't like it, but I think if you just look at the absolute baseline, what is the smallest wording, like what is the smallest change you can make to nerf Custodes? It would be changing a stat block number. And so therefore, I guess I could see it. I don't like it, but like, personally, I would rather see the Ploys changed. Or, you know what? So this is obviously just me not being a game designer, right? I would rather they limit Custodes to what I said before, 2 plus 5 Sisters, or 3 max, and nerf all the Ploys before they change the core stat block. It's very easy to kind of conceptualize the change that 3 APL would have on the team, but if you take all the other changes and smash them together, it's very hard to try and sit down and think, okay, what is the cumulative effect of all of that? So I don't know. Okay? I'm just saying I like 4 APL. I think it's cool, but I don't know what all of those other changes combined would actually do. Would that have as much of an effect as dropping them to 3 APL? I don't know. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I've laid out the problem. Did I miss anything? Do you think actually, Glass, there's another thing that you forgot to mention that changes the way we need to think about things? I'd be interested to know that. Also, I've laid out the possible solutions that I've heard other people mention. Did you like or dislike any of them? Do you think that my preferred solution of changing everything apart from the stat block is the way to go? Or do you think that stat block needs to be hit? Please tell me. I'm genuinely curious. We're all new to this game, and I don't think any one way of going about things at this point is right or wrong. Also, I suppose, do you think GW is actually going to do this? GW has a questionable track record, right? I mean, they do balance patch 40k, They did not balance patch Kill Team, apart from nerfing Orc Choppers once. That was it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I genuinely be curious. But now that we're at the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big thank you. Honestly, one of the best ways you can help a small channel like mine is just watching to the end of the video, leaving a like, a comment, and in return, getting a big square hello. Wow. Wholesomeness for wholesomeness. That's what I'm all about here, guys. Take that negativity elsewhere. For whatever reason, as I get older, I just don't have time for it in my life. Seriously. Anyway, this has been Glass Half Dead. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.